Hello, my name is Gary Newman. I represent a group called Citizens for National Security. We are a national, nonpartisan research group that highlights and exposes the threat of radical Islam in this country. We provide accurate and credible information to public officials and ordinary citizens so they can not only understand but act upon national security issues. Today, I want to talk to you about one of those issues that is more dangerous and more common than it used to be. Homegrown terrorism, but in a way that you may not have thought of before. Today, there are approximately 300 American citizens awaiting trial for terrorist acts, over 900 open investigations by the FBI, and approximately 250 American citizens have already gone abroad to join ISIS, and they can return legally. After 15 years and hundreds of incidents, we are still shocked and confused when it happens in a plane over Detroit, Times Square, Little Rock, Chattanooga, Fort Hood, Oklahoma City, San Bernardino, or Boston. So, how does it start? I mean, what makes the boy next door suddenly become a terrorist? And of course, it isn't sudden. It's a process. But is it psychological, sociological, theological, financial? Do they hear about it from friends, family, in mosques, or social media? Probably all of the above. But it always begins with indoctrination and continues until they become radicalized. And often, I'm sorry to say, it happens here, because there is another breeding ground for homegrown terrorism that few are aware of. American classrooms, with American teachers using American published textbooks. Now I could discuss any of dozens of examples, but today I want to focus on the Tsarnaev brothers, otherwise known as the Boston Marathon bombers. The two boys, Tamerlan and Dzhokhar, were of Russian heritage. Tamerlan, the older one, was described as respectful, talented. He played the violin and piano, a skilled boxer who fought in a Golden Gloves tournament. "I like the USA," he said. "America has plenty of jobs. You have a chance to make money here if you're willing to work." Then, somehow, somewhere, he changed. He became a devout Muslim. He put pressure on his girlfriend to convert, was arrested for assaulting her, later denied citizenship, and finally killed shortly after the bombing. Dzhokhar, the younger one, was about 10 when he came here. He was described as likable, friendly, quiet. He was captain of his high school wrestling team, and he is now sentenced to death. So what changed these apparently normal, assimilated teens from this to this? Who told us that the bombing was payback for U.S. military action in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the innocent victims in Boston, collateral damage. To gain some insight, let's take a look at the high school they attended and the history textbook that is widely used there. The Cambridge Rindge and Latin School is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and has an ethnically diverse student population. School motto: opportunity, diversity, respect. Tamerlan graduated in 2005, Dzhokhar in 2011. The history textbook commonly used: Modern World History, Patterns of Interaction. Here are some lessons learned from that text. Muhammad's teachings, which are the revealed word of God, are found in the holy book called the Quran. Because the Quran forbade forced conversion, Muslims allowed conquered peoples to follow their own religion. Tolerance continued after the Muslim state was established. The persecuted people often welcomed the Muslim invaders and chose to accept them. They were attracted by the appeal of the message of Islam, which offered hope and equality in this world. Now, Individually, these passages are bad enough, but as a whole, they illustrate that what appears to be teaching is really indoctrination. Modern world history, patterns of interaction, is just one example of some other textbooks that are so filled with distortions and half-truths that, along with the influence of family, friends, mosques, and social media, indoctrination becomes inevitable and almost always followed by radicalization, and a homegrown terrorist is born. When defeating radical Islam is discussed, it's always about a military solution. Bombings, boots on the ground, coalitions. All right, guns defeat terrorists. But education defeats terrorism. You know what our most potent weapon is? It's our youth and their education. Now, how come they know that and we don't? When our country is under attack, the war is for the hearts and minds of our youth, our vulnerable, impressionable youth. The battleground is the classroom. The weapon of choice, the textbook. And they're telling us what they're doing. We're just not listening. A few years ago, there was a trial of the Holy Land Foundation. They were a sponsor of global terrorism disguised as a charity. These words were spoken under oath. The Muslim Brotherhood understands that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad, eliminating and destroying America from within. Or a statement from Ibrahim Hooper, the main spokesman for CARE, the Council on American-Islamic Relations. I wouldn't want to create the impression that I wouldn't like the government of the United States to be Islamic, he said, but I'm not going to do anything violent to promote that. I'm going to do it through education. I mean, what's it going to take? This is what they're doing to their children through education. And they're trying to do it to ours. Now, we can't do anything about family, friends, mosques, or social media. But we can certainly stop the indoctrination and radicalization occurring in our own classrooms. America is not stronger if we avoid offending every ideology that refuses to assimilate. America is not stronger if we tolerate every ideology that seeks to replace ours with theirs. That is cultural suicide. Now, as we all know, freedom isn't free. You have to get involved. Read your children's textbooks. Speak up to teachers, principals, school boards, boards of education, congressmen. Tell them you're mad as hell and aren't going to take it anymore. Join us at Citizens for National Security. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we've already made progress in eliminating some terrible textbooks. But we need help. We need people, and we need money. Now, you can ignore all this, but when your child or your grandchild asks you, how come you never told me Muhammad is the final prophet? Allahu Akbar. Don't be shocked. Don't you dare be shocked. And don't ask, how could this happen? Ignore the signs. And maybe our next generation will live in a country where prayer in schools will be unconstitutional, or displaying the American flag will be called offensive, or the pledge will be optional, or terrorists will be called freedom fighters. Or pressing one for English just won't seem so strange at all. Do nothing, and our legacy to our children will be a lost tradition. The new culture will be one where evil is good and wrong is right, and George Orwell will have written nonfiction. Or we can start paying attention to the hearts and minds of our next generation. We can teach them the truth. We can teach them that they have been given a gift. And it's their job not only to keep it alive, but to hand it down to their children. The gift? The American success story, the American tradition. Over 50 years ago, JFK knew this when he said, "Peace does not lie in charters and covenants alone. It lies in the hearts and minds of the people." Thank you.